Good morning, students. Um, Today, I want to explain the chapter 22 Neural Control and Coordination, though it has already explained in the previous classes. But I think many of you have not realized, or maybe you have not seen that part. So, it is my duty to revise the chapter as a brief so that you whatever the notes and NCRT solutions I am giving, you can understand what is written. And after reading, if you can feel any doubts, ask me in my personal WhatsApp at any time. So now that is the introduction part. So I'm going to start the chapter Neural Control and Coordination. So basically, if we are going to the term neural system, or the another name is nervous system. So basically it is a system which can control and coordinates the body activities and conducts and integrates the information and the response to stimuli. The basic things I want to explain here: if the some kind of stimulus is coming to our different receptors which are present in our body, then after taking the stimulus, the nerves become stimulated, and this message is delivered by the nerve to brain and spinal cord. And after that, brain or spinal cord will command the nerve to show the reaction against the stimulus. Like you were walking in a dark street, but suddenly one car came to your path and just flashed the headlight, which is bright for that dark road. So now when that light will fall onto your eyes, the receptors present on eye taking the stimulus, that is light of the headlight of car. Now this stimulus will pass to the neuron, and neuron means brain, and then brain will command the eye to close it so that much more light can cause damage to our eyes. So in this way, the nervous system can receive the stimulus and give the information and create the balance of our body. Now, what are the compositions of the nervous system? It includes brain, spinal cord, and nervous. So, it is made up of specialized cell called neurons, only one type of cell. Now, we have to read about the neuron. So, neuron is the structural and functional unit of nervous system. Basically, it has three main parts: cell body, which is the cytoplasm part of the neuron, Then from the cytoplasm creates some hair-like projection that is known as dendron, and if it is in the plural form, it is known as dendrite. And one projection becomes so much longer that known as axon. Now here you can see the structure of neuron and you can see the leveling so that you can understand that which part is present where in neuron. Like first of all, cell body. It contains cytoplasm, cell organelles and the specific things nasal granules, which is also known as granular bodies. So now dendron. So short fibers that project out of the cell body and the sub branches of the dendron are called dendrites. Basically, they transmit impulses towards the cell body. Now, coming to the axon part of the neuron, it is a long fiber which transmit impulses away from the cell body. The branching of axon is called axonite, and each axonite end has a bulb like structure called synaptic knob. So you can see the orange colored thing that is cell body where cytoplasm, cell organelles and nasal granules are present. I told you from the cytoplasm there will be some projection called dendron, and that dendron, if sub branch, they are known as dendrites. But you can see one long projection which is axon, and their terminal branches are called axonite. And each an axonite at the end there is a knob like structure which is called synaptic knob. Now we are going to see what are the different types of neuron. Number 1, multipolar neuron. Here one axon and two or more dendrons found in the cerebral cortex. Now you can see the bipolar neuron where one axon and one dendron found in the retina of the eye. And then unipolar neuron, only axon, no dendrites. It is found in the embryonic stage. So now when we are going to talk about the axon, it basically are of two types. One is myelinated axon, second is non-myelinated axon. Coming to the myelinated axon, basically it's coming the word from myelin sheath. Though in the myelinated axon, you can see it is enveloped with squamous cell, and that squamous cell form a myelin sheath which around the axon. So found in the spinal and cranial nerves. White colored area formed of myelinated nerve fiber that is called white matter, and the gaps between the two adjacent myosin sheath, that means two myosin sheath, between the two myosin sheath there is a point which is known as node of Ranvier. Now non-myelinated sheath, you can see it is kind of only axon, they are not covered by any fat layers. So squamous cells present but no myosin sheath. The grey colored area you can see without myelin sheath is called grey matter. So this is found in autonomous and somatic neural system. Now we have to know about the generation and conduction of nerve impulses. So first of all, we have to follow the three steps of impulse transmission. First of all, maintenance of resting membrane potential. Second is action potential. third is propagation of action potential. So, coming to the maintenance of resting membrane potential, you can see a neural membrane which contains various selectively permeable ion channels. So, when the neuron is in resting condition, there is no abnormalities, or you can say no other stimulus are coming. So, the axonal membrane of the neuron is basically permeable to potassium ion and impermeable to sodium ion. So, for a reason, sodium will be present outside of the layer of the axon membrane, and potassium will be present inside the layer of the axon membrane. So, as a result, we know sodium is more electropositive than the potassium. So, as a result, in the resting condition, the positive ions will be on the outside of the nerve membrane, and the negative ions are present inside of the uh, axon membrane. So now, therefore, concentration of potassium and very charged protein in exoplasm is high, and as a result, sodium ion become low inside the membrane. So the fluid which is present outside the axon contain low concentration of potassium and high concentration of sodium. So this forms an ionic or concentration gradient across the resting membrane. Now the ionic gradients are maintained by the active transport by the sodium potassium ion. If any stimulus will come, they will help to open the sodium potassium channel by the help of ATP. And then sodium will enter into the membrane, and to make the balance, potassium will go out in from the membrane. So as a result, from the point of the stimulus, the nerve changes its polarity. That means now the upper side, the outside of the membrane becomes negative and the inside becomes positive. And slowly these charges basically spread throughout the nerve. The electrical potential difference across the resting membrane potential is called resting potential. Now, what I'm telling about action potential. So, when a stimulus is applied, the membrane at site A now become permeable to sodium ion. So this causes rapid influx of sodium ion and reversal of the polarity at the site of the outer negative হয়ে যাচ্ছে, the outer becomes negative and the inner side become positive. As the polar become changed, so it is known as depolarized. The electric potential difference during depolarization across plasma membrane is called action potential. Now, at the sides ahead, side B, outer surface is positive and inner surface is negative. As a result, current flows on the inner surface from A side to B side. On the outer surface, current flows from side B to side A to complete the circuit. Hence, the polarity is reversed. Then it becomes again the same position after transmitting the impulse to the next neuron. So the outer side become positive and the inner side become negative. As it was the depolarization, the changes of charges, so now the charges become normal. So it is known as repolarization. So the sequence is repeated along the action and the impulse is conducted. The rise in permeability to sodium is extremely short lived, so it is quickly followed by a rise in permeability to potassium ion. So, immediately, potassium ion diffuses outside the membrane and restores the resting membranes. Thus, the fiber become ready for the further stimulation. Now, here you can see the synaptic transmission of impulses. Basically, synapse is a functional junction between two neurons. It has two types: electrical synapse, chemical synapse. If we talk about the electrical synapse, in this the membrane of pre and postsynaptic neuron are in close proximity. So, impulse transmission is similar to the transmission along an axon. Impulse transmission is faster than in chemical response. Electrical synapses are very rare in human system. Now the chemical synapse, in this there is a fluid filled space which is called synaptic cleft. So between the presynaptic neuron and the postsynaptic neuron, the presynaptic regions have swelling called synaptic knob. They contain synaptic vesicles which filled with neurotransmitter called acetylcholine or adrenaline. Now, if we talk about the human neural system, they have two types: general neural system or central nervous. I'm really very sorry. That is central nervous system, CNS, peripheral nervous system, PNS. Now, the central neural system or nervous system, whatever, they are composed by the two main thing, brain and spinal cord, whereas peripheral neural system are of two type: somatic neural system, autonomic neural system. So if we talk about the brain, it is protected in the cranial cavity. It has three layered connective tissue, membranes called or cranial meninges. Three layers of meninges are outer dura mater, middle arachnoid mater, inner pia mater. The subarachnoid space, which is present between pia mater and arachnoid mater, is filled with cerebrospinal fluid. The ventricles are of brain are also filled with CNS. Now, brain has three division: forebrain, which is also known as prosencephalon; midbrain, which is also known as mesencephalon; hindbrain, which is also known as rhombencephalon. If we talk about the forebrain, they have anterior part. It is the anterior part and it consists of cerebrum, diencephalon, and again diencephalon are divided into two parts: thalassum and hypothalamus. Now, cerebrum, the largest part, it has two cerebral hemispheres held together by tract of nerve fibers called corpus callosum. Now, the outer part of cerebrum is called cerebral cortex. So, it has convolutions and depression and is formed of gray matter. So, gray color is due to the presence of neuron cell bodies. Inner part is formed white matter. Cerebral cortex consists of motor area which controls voluntary movement of muscle. Sensory, that means controls for the function of sense organs. Association nerve, it is neither clearly sensory nor motor in function. Responsible for intense intersensory association, memory, and communication. Now, integrated activities of different center of cerebral cortex control intelligence, memory, judgment, learning, thinking, and articulate speech. Now, the thalamus, which is the divide of the uh, forebrain. Thalamus, it is the structure which around which the cerebrum wraps. It is a coordinating center, relay station for sensory and motor impulses. Now, diencephalon, hypothalamus, seen below the thalamus function, it regulates temperature, thirst, hunger, emotion, secretes hypothalamic hormone, control pituitary gland, controls sleep, wakefulness, blood pressure, heart rate, etc. Now, the inner part of the cerebral hemisphere and a group of associated deep structure like amygdala, hippocampus, hypothalamus, etc. together constitute limbic system, limbic lobe you can say. It regulates sexual behavior, motivation, emotions, enhancement, pleasure, rage, fear, etc. Now it is located between thalamus or hypothalamus and pons, that is midbrain. A canal cerebral aqueduct passes through the midbrain. Midbrain consists of four round lobes called corpus quadrigemina. Their anterior pair is the center of visual reflexes and the posterior pair is the center of auditory nerve. Now the hindbrain, which is also known as rhombencephalon, it consists of cerebellum, pons and medulla oblongata. So midbrain and hindbrain form the brainstem. Now hindbrain, that is known as little cerebrum, it has very convoluted surface to accommodate more neurons. So it coordinates muscular activity and body equilibrium. Now pons varolii. It consists of the fiber tracts that interconnect different regions of the brain. It coordinates the activities of the eye and ear and regulates respiration. Medulla oblongata, it is connected to spinal cord. It controls respiration, cardiovascular reflexes, gastric secretion, peristalsis, etc. It also controls salivation, vomiting, sneezing, and coughing. So, next day